Chance, I'm Christian Achkite. Welcome to APTN National News Daytime on this Thursday. Breaking news in Manitoba. RCMP have issued a dangerous person alert for Pimichikamat Cree Nation and surrounding areas after a man violently abducted a woman from a residence in the community this morning. RCMP believes she is in immediate danger. RCMP said to be on the lookout for 39-year-old Joshua Papanikis, pictured here. They warned to not approach Papanikis as he is considered armed and dangerous. At around 5:40 a.m. this morning, Cross Lake RCMP responded to a report of aggravated assault in the Pimichikamat Cree Nation. They say an investigation determined Papanikis entered a residence and struck a 24-year-old resident with a hammer. They say he then abducted a 20-year-old Rayanne Thomas and was last seen fleeing on foot with Thomas. RCMP have a large-scale search effort in place as they believe she is in immediate danger. Anyone with information on their whereabouts is asked to contact Cross Lake RCMP at 204-676-2600. It's been 1 year since the quadruple homicide in the Kettle Nakoda Nation in southern Saskatchewan. Now, Saskatchewan RCMP have charged a fourth person in connection to that multiple death investigation. Saskatchewan RCMP's Homicide Investigation Unit, along with the File Hills First Nations Police Service, arrested 67-year-old Lauren Elvis Hatomini at a home in Kettle. Hatomini has been charged with 1 count of accessory after the fact to murder. He is scheduled to appear in Fort Qu'Appelle Provincial Court this morning. Last year on February 4th, the File Hills First Nations Police Service received a report of sudden deaths at a home in Kettle. When police arrived, they located 4 people deceased. They included Tracy Hatomini, Sheldon Cusance, Shauna Fay, and Terry Jack. A 15-year-old male youth and an 18-year-old Darius Reset were arrested and charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. A 17-year-old male youth was also arrested last December and charged with 1 count of attempted murder. Kettle is located about 70 kilometers east of Regina. 1 man has died in the Louisville First Nation in Alberta, and the community was advised to shelter in place as RCMP searched for any suspects. According to Musquechee's RCMP, at around 1 a.m. on Wednesday morning, Louisville First Nation residents were told to shelter in place as Mounties searched for any armed suspects. People were asked to stay inside their homes and don't open their doors to strangers. The advisory was then lifted about 3 hours later. RCMP said they made some arrests and said there was no longer a risk to the public. At this time, RCMP did not provide any more details on those arrests or on the identity of the victim. Louisville is located about 90 kilometers south of Edmonton and is part of Musquechee's. Wednesday was the 3rd day of the inquest into Aisha Hudson's death in Winnipeg. Hudson was the 16-year-old girl who was shot and killed by a Winnipeg police officer after a liquor store robbery and subsequent high-speed chase. APTN's Julia Ross reports, and a warning, some of the details in this report are disturbing.
Kyle Pradnuk, the officer who shot Aisha Hudson, was the only witness on the stand Wednesday at the inquest into her death. Hudson was killed on April 8, 2020 after a high-speed chase when people in her vehicle robbed a liquor store and threatened to stab a security guard. A video was played that captured the exact moment the chase came to an end. After Hudson's vehicle T-boned a Ford F-150 and reversed to continue driving away, where Constable Pradnuk fired his weapon twice. Pradnuk says the vehicle had reversed, putting his partner, Constable Sylvester's life in danger, leading to his first shot. Pradnuk also says that between that first and second shot, Hudson began driving the car forward, leading to his second shot. In court, questions were posed about reaction time and how quickly decisions need to be made. Pradnuk agreed that everything occurred very quickly and he could not say with certainty what commands Hudson would have heard or what she would have perceived. Pradnuk says after the first shot, all he knew was the car window had been broken and he could not determine the effectiveness of the shot. Pradnuk testified that he only noticed slight bleeding at first and that although Hudson's shoulder was not bleeding terribly, she became unresponsive. Police are trained to aim for the torso as it doesn't move around as much and is where most major organs are located. Pradnuk was the first officer to begin CPR on Hudson and requested an ambulance in a rush. He says he felt that Hudson's intent was to get away at any cost, including harming police. Julia Ross, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A First Nation in Alberta has declared a state of emergency after a number of recent dog attacks in the community. According to the Blood Tribe leadership, recent dog attacks are endangering the public and causing serious and immediate risk to public safety. Animal control officers in the First Nation are being advised to fully enforce its dog control bylaw, which includes seizing and removing aggressive dogs. A vet will then assess each dog, who will then recommend appropriate measures to address the risk posed by the dog. Dogs that are deemed dangerous could also be euthanized. Community members are being asked to use caution when walking around any unattended dogs. The state of emergency will remain in effect until further notice. A ceremonial space in Winnipeg remains at the center of controversy as it gets a makeover that many say is long overdue. With more, here's APTN's TR Wheatley.
We're not just grabbing everything and just pulling it. I understand the significance of it.
These occupiers say police escorted them out of the Thunderbird House so abruptly that they couldn't pack up their ceremonial items. Mikiseo Miguan says it was done illegally.
And it's a violation of
We'll see,
UNDRIP.
like, we're working on all
Because
that.
you cannot interrupt ceremony. It is against the law.
They had been living inside for months with medicine bundles on hand. Occupiers like Meg Salwin say they were wrongfully removed recently.
This construction's been happening for months and we've been in here.
At issue here, the Thunderbird House, which opened in 2001, was designed to be a ceremonial space for the Indigenous community. Only these occupiers claim it's sat idle for years, no programming, no tenants. They also claim its board is not legitimate and don't recognize them as such. As well, they say they haven't seen financials in years, also claiming funding from Indigenous Services Canada, or ISC, has gone missing.
You know, it's never good to be, in conflict with the community.
Colleen Rajat joined the board over a year ago and shortly after took over as board chair.
And, one of the big outstanding issues was the financials, and we have all of the financials up to date now, audited financial statements, and we have provided all of the statements to the occupiers.
Rajat says ISC provided $3.2 million for renovations before she took on her role over a year ago.
And, we've had to get several bids for all of this work to be done as per our federal government contract.
She says those renos need to be completed by March 31st or ISC will pull back funding. The once copper roof was stripped during the pandemic, making the building fray inside. Rajat says roof renos came first, starting last fall. And now the contractors are ready to reno the inside. It's why Rajat and the rest of the voluntary board got police to remove the occupiers out by this month.
The kitchen is going to be replaced, the washrooms are going to be gutted, and that means the water is actually going to be shut off to the building, and then all the windows and doors are also being replaced. So the occupiers could, absolutely not be in the building when active construction is going on. There's liability, and what contractor would want to come inside a building and do work when people have set up bedrooms inside the offices? And Thunderbird House was never meant to be a residence. It's a cultural gathering space.
Our hand was really forced as a board.
Randy Way is the current treasurer and proud Métis. He joined the board hoping to give back to the community and to his friend who designed the building, Doug Cardinal.
And he's an important STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics role model. So this building, it's hugely historically significant.
While the circular design is state-of-the-art, Way says it isn't business-friendly as tenants find there isn't enough space and the location isn't ideal.
The problem is, again, it's a very challenging location. You've got huge urban homelessness right on the doorstep. We have to be creative in imagining the future for the building.
Way believes that future can be bright, but it can only happen if the renovation process happens and doesn't get stalled by the occupiers.
I think well-intended, but there's better places for them to put their energy while the space gets renovated. And then at such a time, we can have an open and transparent public meeting. They can certainly come to that meeting, and get on the board in a legitimate fashion.
A meeting he and Rajat promise will happen just as soon as the renovations are complete. T.R. Wheatley, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A First Nation in northern Manitoba says their children are in crisis after a fire destroyed their only school early last week. Work is now underway to get classes back in session. An electrical fire caused the Barons River School to burn to the ground on January 27th, despite best efforts from emergency crews. Chief Hartley Everett says the community is working on securing 25 to 27 portable classrooms for the almost 400 students and staff. In a public statement, Chief and Council say the process could take up to 3 months to complete. Barons River First Nation is located roughly 270 kilometers north of Winnipeg. We're always looking for your feedback or story ideas. Here's how to continue the conversation with us. If you have a story you want to share, send us an email to news@aptn.ca. And to read and watch our stories, go to www.aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, LinkedIn, and X. And you can also watch this newscast anywhere, anytime on YouTube. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. We have more news coming up right after the break. Don't go away. Welcome back. It's Thursday, and that means Nation to Nation host Karen Pugliese joins us from Ottawa to tell us what's coming up on tonight's all-new episode. Karen?
So here's what we have coming up on Nation to Nation. U.S. President Donald Trump may have cooled his language for now, but Greenland's Prime Minister says the push for U.S. control is far from over. Two of our reporters are just back from Greenland, and they join us to explain what that pressure looks like on the ground and how people are living with it. That's tonight, after the news.
APTN Investigates also returns this week with an all-new episode. Reporter Kenneth Jackson sets out to expose how wartime industrial and government decisions poison land and water in the village of Noble, Ontario. It's just another chapter of Canada's toxic legacy in the heart of the Anishinaabe territory, as that contamination remains today. And the chief of the nearby Shawanaga First Nation is demanding that Canada cleans up its mess. Here's a preview.
When you're dealing with tens of millions of pounds of explosives and chemicals, it has to go somewhere.
They built explosives here. They needed components for explosives. The local legend is that munitions were actually dumped there when they closed the plant and walked away.
It's now affectionately known as Gun Cotton Creek.
The stakes are high. The stakes are really high.
My grandfather, Alfred, raised the kids at Nobel. They had 12 kids. And out of the 12 kids, 5 of them suffered serious forms of cancer, from stomach to brain cancers, thyroid cancers.
What do you think's stuck in the ground there?
I think persistent contaminants that never go away.
I think to work there for like 30, 40 years, breathing the ethylene glycol, the nitrate fumes, was not good.
Clean up the land, return it to the First Nations. We want to be part of the direction that fixes what our governments have done.
And you can catch APTN Investigates War on the Land, airing this Saturday on APTN. Time now to tell you about this week's second web poll question. Over on our website, we ask, do you think the federal government's announcement to make groceries cheaper will help? You can answer yes, no, or unsure. Go to our website at www.aptnnews.ca to have your say. Leah Arkan, the founder of Save Res Dogs, is up next. We'll be right back with that interview. Well, Arlen for staying with us. Charlottetown -2, Halifax partly cloudy and 0. La Grande River -22, Happy Valley Goose Bay flurries and -9. Saguenay -15, Gaspé rain and -6. -5 in Toronto, partly cloudy in Peterborough at -8. Sioux Lookout cloudy and -4, Thunder Bay -6. -9 in God's Lake, clear skies in Thompson at -12. Winnipeg 1, Gimli -1. 4 in Saskatoon, 3 in Regina. 8 in Meadow Lake, cloudy in La Ronge at -4. Sun's out and high level at -10, Fort McMurray -5. Calgary 7, Edmonton cloudy and 0. Rain in Tofino at 10, Vancouver 13. Prince Rupert 9, Smithers 3. Beaver Creek -11, Whitehorse cloudy and 1. -18 in Norman Wells, Watee -20. Tuktoyaktuk -28, Palatuk -30. -32 in Baker Lake, Chesterfield -31. And sunny in Iqaluit at -32, Arctic Bay -36. Our next guest is Leah Arcand, the founder of Save Res Dogs, an Indigenous-led advocacy and education movement helping res dogs since 2019. Arcand recently incorporated the movement to level up their initiative and protect the Save Res Dogs name and brand. We spoke with Leah Arcand earlier. Here's that interview. Leah Arcand, thanks so much for speaking with us. Can you start off by telling us about Save Res Dogs and when the organization was founded and what the organization does?
Yeah, for sure. Hi, I'm Leah Arcand, and Save Res Dogs is an Indigenous-led advocacy and education initiative focused on long-term community-driven solutions for ethical animal welfare and safety in First Nations communities. And I started doing the foster fundraising work while I was teaching in Thunderchild in 2017 and 18, and I launched my Facebook page in 2019.
Right on, thank you for that. Leah, can you talk about what inspired you to create Save Res Dogs?
For sure. So I'm a full-time teacher, and at the time I was teaching a land-based program called Mi'opamatsuan for grade 7-8 girls in 2017, and that was the same year that I got my first puppy. So I just sort of intersected, being a first-time adult pet owner and trying to teach my students the same stuff that I was learning as well, for responsible pet ownership. And along with that, I was fostering community dogs around the school at the same time, and I was seeing the gaps in systemic care for animals on the res, because I saw that the Band-Aid solutions at the time was having a cull or getting a rescue to come and pick up dogs, or just having a sign up at the gas bar door to say keep your dogs tied up. And so those don't align with our cultural teachings, and they're not sustainable. So those things just really opened my eyes, and I just wanted to get more involved to be a voice for res dogs.
Being the first Indigenous animal advocacy group in Saskatchewan, what are some of the ways Save Res Dogs changed dogs' lives so far?
What I've seen so far that's been really cool is seeing people in their communities, on and off for their communities, wanting to get involved in helping animals, and people, women especially, starting their own rescues on reserve, which is community-led. It's very grassroots, and getting support from their elected leadership. So I've seen that around Saskatchewan about half a dozen times, which has been really awesome. And plus I see a shift in the way we're thinking about res dogs, and that it's a systemic issue, but it's also a human behavior issue as well. So that shift is happening, and because of that, dogs are being put on the agendas, which is great because they've been ignored and overlooked for so long, which leads to overpopulation and safety concerns. So it's a lot more people are definitely talking about dogs.
Leah, last month it was announced that Save Res Dogs is now officially incorporated. Congratulations on that. What will that bring for the organization?
Thank you. It just means that, to me, putting 6 years into this grassroots initiative just proves its longevity and that it's needed. And I decided to incorporate it just to protect our name, and to also level up in terms of like bigger projects, bigger events, and getting us out there more. So I'm really excited for that because there's so much support nationwide, international a little bit, and people really want to support the cause in a good way because we are Indigenous led, and we're still grassroots, even if we're still incorporated. Nothing much has changed. We're just going to go for the funding to provide more programming and events.
That's great. Happy to hear. Finally, Leah, what are some of the ways people can support Save Res Dogs in their own communities?
For sure. I think the first thing right now is to pay attention around the dogs in your area, and whether if you're off reserve, you can still have a voice. And if you really want to get involved, find your people to start a committee to make the change, because the changes is going to happen within community and getting the support from elected leadership. And that's where the change will really happen. And also to support local rescues that do want to work with Indigenous people, because right now there is a bit of a crisis in rescues because they're burnt out and there's a lot of work being there's a lot of call outs for rescues to come in and kind of clean up the dogs, but that's not sustainable and it leads to burnout. And if some rescues, they just want to focus on dogs and not really, leave long-term solutions, and that can be pretty harmful for us. So we just need to start paying attention to our communities. So outsiders, can just kind of know their role and kind of get involved when they're asked and follow protocol and be respectful. And then it'll be a good form of reconciliation. So to support Save Res Dogs is just to pay attention and to speak up and do what you can and what you can commit to.
Leah Arcan is the founder of Save Res Dogs. Leah, thank you so much for your time, and please come back on the show again.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much.
And that's your daytime newscast for this Thursday. Dennis Ward is back with your evening news in a few hours, including an all-new episode of Truth in Politics. Please join us then. From all of us at APTN National News Daytime, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again. Excellent.